Hey, welcome back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather going out to the start of April in today's video. I did a video yesterday saying about the northern blocking coming along, but still signs that the northern blocking is going to be taking up residence. But whether we actually ever get cold from this, open to some doubt, because it just depends how everything lines up. We're into April now, or we will soon be into April, and that's going to be the period that we're looking at. So we're late on into the year. It can get cold if everything lines up properly, but it just depends whether it will, and there is quite a bit of doubt about that particular aspect. Also, we're going to have a look at the latest update from the South Korea model. It's updated for the next month, so at the end of the video, have a look at the charts going from the middle of April to early May, getting well on into the year now. Have a look at those as well. But before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at gfs.com. If you press play on a video ad, you'll be supporting gfs.com. Thanks so much for doing that. Got content ads, which are links to articles. If you click through the link, you'll go to the website where you can read the article, and at the same time, Gfs is going to reward you. Some very interesting articles in there. I've had a browse through them myself, so do check them out and see if there's anything that you're interested in reading. And of course, the competition. We've been running the competition since Sunday, the rain gauge prize draw. Thanks so much to everybody that's entered the competition so far. I've been really blown away by the response. Had some an amazing response to this competition. If you haven't entered yet, then I'll just get rid of the camera so you can see the rain gauge in all its glory. Thanks very much to Ecmwf Weather Instrumentation, our good friends at Ecmwf, for supplying this rain gauge. Fabulous prize worth nearly £25, £24.95. If you haven't entered yet, all you've got to do is email your name and address to gfsweathervids@gmail.com. You'll be entered into the prize draw. We'll be drawing out one name at random on Sunday evening in a video. So that's what you got to do. Just go to gfsweathervids.com, gmail@gfsweathervids.com with your name and address. Enter the prize draw, and you could win that wonderful rain gauge. And again, thanks so much to our good friends at Ecmwf Weather Instrumentation for supplying us with that rain gauge. So let's get on with the video, and well, we're going to start off with the Gfs temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Deal with temperatures first of all. The red line here is where we should be at this time of the year, and we're a little bit below average, in fact, with temperatures just at the moment going to stay that way for the next day or two. But as we get through to the end of the week and into the weekend, we're going to see the upper air temperature starting to pick up. We're going to go above average, actually, right at the end of the month and into the first few days of April. Definitely going above the red line with the upper air temperatures. Now, whether we ever feel this down on the surface is going to be open to some question, because there's going to be a lot of cloud associated with this rising temperature in the upper atmosphere. There's also going to be some rain, so we may not actually feel the benefits that much, but I think we will lift temperatures up by a degree or two at the end of week into weekend and through the start of next week. Now, as we get through to around the 3rd, 4th of April, which is just here, we're starting to get quite a bit of scatter then taking place. Some of the ensemble members saying quite warm, some do go quite cold, and that is in association with the northern blocking and just whether we tap into that cold air. But we'll be plunging down into Scandinavia and West Russia. They're going to have a cold plunge through the first week of April. Just depends how everything lines up, whether we ever really tap into that cold air. But you wouldn't look at that ensemble and say it's going to turn desperately cold, although there are quite a few members of the ensemble that do turn it cold through the first week of April into the second week. 9th of April is just here. That's a very long way off. Also going to be some rainfall coming up over the next couple of weeks. I've got rainfall spikes really throughout the ensemble chart, actually, and particularly focused perhaps from around the 1st to the 5th of April. Could turn particularly unsettled just then, with some quite big precipitation spikes, but overall quite an unsettled spell coming up, you have to say, from that ensemble. Quite a few precipitation spikes. So here's the Gfs chart for Monday, the last day of March, and you can see what's going on here. We have got quite a bit of northern blocking extending down from Greenland in towards Scandinavia. The cold air is coming around the back of the high pressure, of course, going down into Scandinavia. You've got northerly winds feeding down there. this area of low pressure down to the southwest of Ireland is stopping this high pressure moving up to Iceland and Greenland properly. If it was able to get across into Greenland, we start to open floodgates to that northerly wind. Instead, this low pressure is acting as a bit of a buffer, actually. So what's happening is that we're dragging up quite a mildish sort of south to southeasterly flow. We saw it on the upper air temperatures. This is right during the time frame where we've got this rise in the temperatures going on. Now, I say there's going to be a lot of cloud with that. There could be some rain around at times, so whether we'll really feel the rise in the temperatures in the upper air from that southerly to southeasterly flow, it is open to some doubt. But I think the temperatures will tick up a bit over the weekend and into the start of next week. Now, as we go through next week, we're going to really keep a battle going between high pressure up to the north and the northeast, low pressure out in the Atlantic. What eventually happens on the latest GFS is that this low pressure tries to come in, doesn't really pull it off, stalls and slips away to the south, with this high pressure blocking over Scandinavia, stretched out to Iceland, continue to dominate. The cold air still coming around the eastern side of that high pressure, pushing down through Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and western parts of Russia. That's where the cold northerly winds are. We're just not lining things up right through the first week of April anyway to tap into that cold air. Eventually that low pressure by Saturday the 5th of April, which is 276 hours away, long way off, slips away to the south and we start to pull back in easterly winds. That could be quite a chilly wind actually, because we've got quite a lot of cold air sitting up to the northeast. So despite that said yesterday that easterly winds generally aren't cold at this time of year, that particular one from those particular synoptics could be. But it's not a particularly cold setup, this, that the GFS is going for, despite the northern blocking. And the reason is that we're talking about April rather than January. If it was January, this easterly wind coming in this week would be very cold. It isn't January, it's April, March into April. So that's the reason, but despite the fact we've got some quite good synoptic charts for cold lovers and people who enjoy snow, we've not really got a cold setup setting up just yet. Here's the Ecmwf. This is for next Monday, the 31st March. High pressure centred right over Iceland. This low pressure down to the southwest. The cold air is pooling around the side of the high pressure, going down into Scandinavia and western parts of Russia. As we go through to April the 1st on into April the 2nd, which is next Wednesday, well, it's really the same idea for GFS. We've got the high pressure up to the northeast, we've got the low pressure down to the southwest, probably bringing weather systems in off the Atlantic, particularly to the south and west, so could be some rain at times. Generally quite mildish because we're bringing up southerly to southeasterly flows. As we get through to day 10, which is Friday the 4th of April, again a very extensive cold pull up to the northeast of that high pressure over Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and Western Russia. But we're still in the sort of battleground with the high pressure from Scandinavia stretched out to Greenland and the low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic. Could be quite wet with that. There will be referencing with the flow, so I would expect some on the precipitation ensemble on the GFS chart. There could be quite a bit of rain next week, but overall I think we're looking at generally mildish sort of conditions through next week, as we're not able to tap into that northerly wind yet on the basis of this morning's models. Finally, have a look at the GEM, the Canadian model, and again for the start of next week it's high pressure to the northeast, with low pressure down to the southwest. There'll be a big battle through next week, and eventually the GEM actually takes that high pressure properly out towards Iceland and Greenland and starts to tap into this very cold north to northeasterly flow by day 10, Friday the 4th of March. I've got some doubt about this because it's 10 days away, it's for GEM, it's not the best model, but that's the sort of thing we're looking for to turn it cold through April. We've got to get that high pressure shifted over to Iceland and Greenland properly, and then start to pull down these northerly to northeasterly winds. If we do that, there is plenty of cold air still waiting up to the northeast this year to tap into. So have a look at the upper air temperatures. There is the cold air starting to push down with that north to northeasterly flow. Whether that actually happens, whether it comes off, I'm not sure. There is a lot of evidence for that on the GFS and the ECM this morning, but it's in play. It's an option because the GEM is showing it. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this develops. It is a developing scenario, and I'll keep updating you about it in the videos and probably in the blog as well over the next few days. Just having a quick look at the charts from the South Korean model before I go. These are broken down into 10-day periods, I think. We're starting off in the middle of April, and for the middle of April, what we see is that we've got a trough of low pressure sitting right over the top of the country for the middle of April. So we're in these blue colours here. Very unsettled that could be. We've got high pressure out in the Atlantic going up towards up towards Newfoundland. Actually, we've got a trough of low pressure on the cold side of the jet stream as well. So that's cool and unsettled through the middle of April, probably something like the 10th to 20th of April. So going up to the Easter period with that, yeah, that would be really quite unsettled and rather on the cool or even the cold side as well. But things do switch around as we get to late April. This is probably taking us from the 20th to the 30th. Then we find the red colours building in from the northeast. So we've got a nice area of high pressure there extending in across the country. That could be a very nice spell for the last week to 10 days or so of April. Mainly dry, and if that's right, it would be really quite warm, although it would probably be played with easterly winds, so perhaps not too good in the east, but that's pretty good, I think, for the start, for the end, I should say, of April. And then as we go into the start of May, this is early May, so presumably taking us from the 1st to the 10th. We've still got the high pressure up to the northeast over Scandinavia, but we're starting to see low pressure coming up from the south and the southwest. That could be threatening thundery rain into England and Wales in particular. I think we'll be starting to see low pressure attacking from the south and the southwest, the high pressure beginning to recede, so turning more unsettled into the start of May, and maybe quite wet for southern parts of the country. That's all very experimental, of course. It's an experimental model, the longer range South Korean model, so don't take that too seriously. It's just a bit of fun, really. The charts are there, so might as well use them. But if it's right, we have a nice spell at the end of April. Otherwise, quite unsettled through the middle of April, and then again, thundery rain coming up early May. But coming back to the more immediate time frame, all the attention is going to be on the northern blocking as we start April. Will we be able to tap into that cold air that's splitting down in Scandinavia and Western Europe, or will we stay generally on the mild side of the blocking, albeit quite unsettled? We're going to have to wait and see. I'll be doing more updates on it, but it's a 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back to that. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to enter the competition. That's it for now.